So in this video, we're going to talk about how do we, in particular, solve quadratic functions. This is going to prepare you for quadratic functions. So we're going to review some of the topics that we have already learned, and we're going to add to those actual techniques that we already have. So the first technique we're going to talk about is what we call completing the square. And remember, when we complete the square, what we're trying to do is make sure that we have something of the form x squared plus, or ax squared plus bx is equal to c, where a should equal 1. So if it's not equal to 1, we have to get it to equal 1. So if you look at this first equation, notice you're already in the form x squared plus 8x equals 1. So this is the form we want everything to be in. And when we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this middle term right here. And we're going to find that we need to do is we need to take the b value divided by 2 and then square it. So in this case, we're going to take 8 divided by 2 and square it. And when we do that, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So what happens now is I'm going to take x squared plus 8x plus 16 is equal to 1. And whatever I add to this side over here, I have to add to the other side as well. So I'll do plus 16 again. So when I do that now, this right here is a perfect square. And it can be factored as x, whatever this sign is right here, plus whatever this number is cut in half, 4 squared. That equals 1 plus 16, which is 17. So from here, we can solve this equation by taking square roots now. Square root of this side, square root of this side. When you take the square root of a square, the square and the square root cancel. You're left with what's underneath it, which is just x plus 4 is equal. When you take the square root of any number, it's always plus or minus. 17 doesn't have any squares in it, so we'll leave it like that. And to solve this, we just need to move the 4 over to this side. We move the 4 over by subtracting it on both sides. And so the final answer here is going to be x is equal to -4 plus or minus the square root of 17. So if you look at the next one's a little bit different, and that's because it's not of the form x squared. To get it to that form, we have to divide everything in this top part by the number in front of x squared, which is a 5. So I'm going to divide everything by 5 here. Right? And when I do that, here's what I get now. I get x squared. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so that's what we want. 10 divided by 5 is 2, so that's minus 2x. And I'm going to move this term right here over because it has to be equal to a c. And all that means I'm just going to change this sign. And I'm going to be left with this fraction. But that's equal to, change the sign to a positive to a negative, moved over, -2 over 5. So again, we start our process now of finding your b value. So we're going to look at this sign again right here. And we're going to do b over 2 first. And we're going to square it. So b over 2 is -2 over 1 and square it, which is just -2 divided by 1, -2 over 2, -2 over 2 and square it. -2 divided by -2 divided by a positive 2 is -2. And we're going to square that value. -2 divided by 2 is a positive 1. And we're going to square that value. 1 squared is just 1. So what we're going to get now is this. X squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to -2/5 plus 1. Remember, whatever you add to one side, you add to the other side. So when we do this, we can go ahead and this again is a perfect square, and it factors x, whatever this sign is right here, and then whatever you got for this b value up here, 1. Or whatever you got when you cut it in half, When you cut this in half right here, you got it in 1, so that's what goes there. It should always be half of whatever's sitting here. And that equals 2/5 plus 1. We have to change this to a fraction. That's 5 over 5. So -2/5 plus 5 over 5 is 3/5. And that's the square. Now remember, we can solve this by taking the square root of both sides now. Take the square root, whatever's under here comes out. So that's just x minus 1 is equal to, take the square root of that side, you get plus or minus the square root of 3 over 5. The 1 needs to move over, so we'll just add the 1. This 1 needs to move over, so we'll add the 1. And our final solution is just x is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 3 over 5. So the last one, 3x squared minus 9x plus 8. Again, we're in that same predicament where we don't have the x squared as a 1. So we divide everything by 3. And we get this, x squared minus 3x plus, and again, I'll move that over. So when I move this over right here, change the sign. So that's just minus, that's equal to a negative 8 over 3. Now, I'm going to cut this one in half this time. Cut this in half. And so I get this. B over 2 squared is equal to negative 3 over 2 squared. Which, in this case, when you square negative 3, you get 9. And when you square 2, you get 4. So literally just this means square the top number, square the bottom number. So I get 9/4 here. So when I do this, I'm going to get x squared minus 3x plus 9 over 4 equals negative 8/3 plus 9 over 4. Now, in order to work this as a perfect square, remember what we do. We just take this part of the perfect square. We take x, whatever this sign is again, minus. And we do the number that we got sitting inside of here, actually, which is just 3 over 2 in this case. And we square that, and that equals. So when we add negative 8/3 and 9/4, we have to convert them to the same denominator. So 8/3, we're going to go to 12 for both these. So 8/3, multiply that by 4, that's 32/12. Multiply the top by I multiplied my top by 4, my bottom by 4, and I'm going to multiply these by 3. So that's 27/12. And so when I do that, negative 32 plus that is going to be a negative 5/12 right here. And now I'll take the square root of both sides. There's a problem trying to take the square root of a negative number. It's not possible. So we'll write this as x minus 3 over 2. Take the square root, you're left with what's underneath. Equals plus or minus square root of 5 over 12. Negative 5 over 12. And we'll solve it. Move this part over by changing its sign. So that's 3 over 2. That's equal plus or minus the square root of negative 5 over 12. There's your final answer.